Maggie, right? Nice to meet you. Your pa, oh no, dressed modestly, don't you? Mom? Did you almost call her poor just now? That's terrible, saying such a true thing. That's why I didn't say it. I stopped myself just in time, so you should too. While smirking, the mother-in-law and sister-in-law were chatting. It was their first meeting face to face. And I felt incredibly uncomfortable with their attitudes. But since they were James's family, I tried to convince myself they couldn't be bad people. The father-in-law, a famous company president I had even seen on TV, was there too. His presence was intimidating. He didn't side with anyone, merely observing. Which was somehow frightening since I couldn't tell what he was thinking. I'm Maggie, 26 years old. James and I have decided to marry. And I am currently meeting his family. My parents have passed away. So we recently visited their graves together. My father died of illness when I was young. And my mother, who raised me alone, passed away last year after falling ill suddenly. Now with no family left, I thought I had to live on my own. But James was always by my side. Without saying much or rushing anything. His quiet presence was calming. When my mother realized she was sick, she worried I would be trapped by memories and began discarding her belongings. Ultimately, only the wedding dress she wore at her marriage to my father was left. Whether intentional or not, my parents loved each other deeply. And I guess she couldn't bring herself to throw away that memory. I too want to build a family that loves each other like my parents did. I hope to wear this wedding dress at my own wedding someday, ideally with James. 2 years later, James and I began the steps to become a real family. That wedding dress is still carefully preserved. These clothes are just more comfortable and easier to move in. I tried to respond cheerfully to the teasing from the mother-in-law and sister-in-law. It wasn't worth going into battle mode over. It was just that my clothes were more plain than theirs, no big deal. Still, I was shocked, as I had thought hard about what to wear to meet James's wealthy family. Far removed from the life of ordinary folks. Is this what commoners wear, I wonder? Maybe it is. Why don't you touch it for the memories? It's so rough and funny. They laughed again, mocking my attire. It was tough standing up to the two of them alone since James was delayed by sudden work. The conversation eventually turned to why James and I were getting married. Can you believe it's so clear just by looking at her? She's completely out of our league. Is she marrying for inheritance? Since she has no parents, is she after our wealth? How brazen. Commoners' thoughts are so barbaric. Barbaric? I wasn't after any inheritance. And I couldn't understand why I was being accused of such things. The one-sided barrage continued, and I grew tired. When I'm tired, my thoughts start to spiral into negativity. I thought, I guess I really am not good enough for James. Gradually, I couldn't even respond anymore and just looked down. That was when James arrived. Sorry I'm late. When I finally looked up, there was James's face, providing a much-needed sense of relief. Oh, there you are. We were just explaining to her how different in status she and James are, how troublesome it is. Right, Maggie? Why, yes. I was disappointed. Seeing my state, James loudly declared. Status doesn't matter. I just want to marry Maggie and be with her forever. Please don't make her feel down with unnecessary comments. Anyway, if the greetings are over, we should be going. We've got a wedding meeting to attend, we're busy. Despite their arrogant demeanor, the mother and sister-in-law didn't start a fight. So, James got angry. The two seemed shocked and were visibly downcast. We were wrong. Go ahead and plan the wedding as you two like. So please, don't be so angry. The mother-in-law pleaded tearfully. She had always been the obedient good girl. So being scolded by James was a shock to her. Maggie, I'm sorry too. It wasn't all serious. Since James chose you, we support you. Let's get along from now on. Suddenly, the mother-in-law and sister-in-law turned to me with smiles. I couldn't help but wonder about their earlier behavior, but peace is best. So I greeted them with, "Thank you in advance. We want to support you, so let us know how the wedding preparations are going. We'll do anything we can. Thank you. Oh, and about the dress. You can choose any dress you like from the shop we always use." Ah, about the dress. James cut in. We've already decided on the dress. Maggie plans to wear her mother's heirloom dress. I had told James that I wanted to wear my mother's heirloom dress. And he was delighted and fully supportive of the idea. Oh, is that so? Well, if James thinks it's good, then it's fine by me. That's wonderful, Maggie, to be able to wear your mother's dress. Could you show it to us sometime? Yes, of course. The shift in their attitude was almost frightening. Later, when I showed the dress to the mother-in-law and sister-in-law, they praised it highly. Given that these were the same two who had called my attire poor at first meeting, I was a bit nervous about what they would say. But it was okay. Then the sister-in-law suggested, "You know, we should use one of our rooms to keep this precious dress safe. We'll even include a mannequin. It's our wedding gift to you." Oh. That's too much. It's been fine just the way it's been kept up till now. What are you talking about? It's almost time to showcase it at the wedding. So it should be stored properly. Please, let us take care of it. It will be in even better condition than now, and you can use it even after the wedding. Enthusiastically offering to store the dress on a mannequin in their room. I agreed since they were so insistent. The unused room quickly became even nicer. And the mannequin donned the dress like a display. A strange but visually appealing arrangement. I was initially worried. But it seemed James's family had come to support our marriage, which was a relief. As other preparations progressed steadily, the day before the wedding arrived. The dress was to be transported to the venue the next day. When James and I went to the room to retrieve it, there was a slight smell of burning. Maybe there was a fire nearby? The smell was strong inside the house, which was concerning. We headed straight for the dress, where the burnt smell grew stronger. After exchanging a look with James, we opened the door. And there was a shocking sight. It was burning. My mother's dress, along with the mannequin, was on fire. No way. I was too stunned to move. In the meantime, James quickly grabbed a fire extinguisher and started spraying. He tried to extinguish the flames that were spreading outside the dress. It was the first time I had ever seen a fire extinguisher in action. Before I knew it, I was crying, watching my mother's dress burn and James struggling to put it out. I felt utterly helpless and couldn't stop my tears. It was an almost unreal scene. Once the fire was out, James came back to my side. The dress was completely burnt. No, why? I didn't know what to say or feel, I was just stunned. It burnt to a nice color, didn't it? I heard a voice from behind and couldn't believe my ears. It was the mother-in-law's voice. How shameful to try to appear at our family's wedding in such a tattered dress. A poor girl after inheritance. Divine retribution, that's what this is. The mother-in-law had reverted to the disdainful person I first met. Mom, how could you? I can't forgive this. I will never forgive this. I didn't do anything specifically. But, just think, we nearly had that ragged dress at the wedding. It would have been a disgrace for generations in our family. I don't know why it burned. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Thankfully, it was just here that burned. Not the house. Lucky, right? Oh, and by the way, you can cancel tomorrow's ceremony. I'll cover the cancellation fees. No, we will not cancel, I said, wiping away unstoppable tears. I'm not going to be defeated. I will definitely marry James. I thought, this is the start of becoming a wonderful couple who love each other. Just like my parents. Oh, really? Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow then. The mother-in-law said dismissively as she walked away. I thought, Mom, I'm sorry. The only keepsake has turned into this. A feeling of guilt toward my mother overwhelmed me. James was still there by my side. I continued to cry for a long time, gradually calming down. But then, from my sorrow, anger began to emerge. We just wanted a happy marriage, nothing else. It was unbearable to be treated this way when we hadn't done anything wrong. The mother-in-law claimed ignorance, but I couldn't believe that was possible. For now, we decided to report to and consult with the venue. I was conflicted about whether to borrow a dress at this point. Having not considered any dress other than the one, I felt nothing for any others shown to me. And so, the day of the wedding arrived. Because James is the son of a famous company president, the ceremony would be filled with television and streaming cameras. Initially, I was resistant to the idea, but I resolved myself to it, knowing it meant being with James. Peeking at the preparations, the venue looked more lavish than I imagined, making it feel like it wasn't my wedding. The mother-in-law and sister-in-law were dressed even more extravagantly, mingling and laughing with the guests, making them compliment their outfits, and saying, James's bride is just a commoner, so plain and simple. Her dress must be something hastily put together from yesterday. Sorry, we'll be catching everyone's eyes instead. It was our wedding, but they acted as if they were the main characters. In a way, I wanted to tell them to expect to become the real main characters soon. But for now, I just quietly watched from the sidelines. The main ceremony was about to start. I had decided to walk down the aisle with James. I debated walking alone but wanted to start the path with James, who had been by my side since I thought I'd be alone. Hand in arm, I walked slowly down the aisle, reflecting on my life so far and savoring the reality of living forward with James. Compliments like beautiful could be heard from the guests. Usually, the entrance is watched in silence, but it was nice to hear such voices. Then, suddenly, loud laughter broke out. I can't take it anymore. What's happening? You're making me laugh, stop it. Of course, it was the mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Thought it was a crow. Right. Right. A wedding dress has to be white, right? Ah, see, the dress got burnt to a crisp yesterday. Maybe that's why she's wearing a burnt crisp dress. Ah, makes sense. A burnt crisp crow dress. Perfect for that commoner. They were gleefully chatting away. I endured. There was no point in retorting here. Let those who want to speak do so, I told myself, focusing on walking forward, ignoring them. I was amazed at how continuously they could dish out demeaning comments. Be quiet. It's disrespectful to James, Maggie, and everyone attending. Besides, don't you know about the black dress? Suddenly, the father-in-law spoke up. The two went silent, making faces of regret. The venue quieted down, and the ceremony proceeded solemnly. The black dress carried a strong message that it would not adhere to anyone else. After much distress about not being able to wear the original dress, this was the solution I chose. With this black dress, I wanted to affirm my love for James and aspire to be an even more loving couple than my parents. James agreed. After the incident, he couldn't genuinely look for a new white dress. Remembering my mother's dress, learning the meaning behind the black dress from the planner, I was drawn to it and decided on it. After the ceremony, there was a break before the reception. The guests were seated, and we entered to a warm welcome. Once again, we savored our happiness together. As we took our seats, a large screen in the venue displayed a video. Everyone probably expected a slideshow about how we met or from our childhood. But the video shown was completely different. It showed the room where my mother's heirloom had been stored, displaying the mannequin and the dress that had burned completely yesterday. A figure entered, set the dress on fire, watched as it spread, then turned and walked towards the camera before disappearing. The fire grew as the video played. Watching this, everyone in the venue turned their attention to one person. I thought, just as you wanted, sister-in-law. You've become the center of attention at this venue. I said this in my mind. What is this? Stop it. Turn it off. Voices of protest were heard, but there was no stopping it. I had control of the video switch. Just as the dress was almost fully engulfed, James and I appeared on screen, with him extinguishing the fire. The video also clearly captured the person hurling abuse at us, drawing everyone's attention once again. Don't look at me. This isn't me. It's a fake. Someone made a fake video. Yes, that's right. Just because the dress burned, they're trying to pin it on us. How shallow and foolish of commoners. Of course, our statuses are different, aren't they? Despite their ranting, I was no longer afraid. The strength of the black dress had given me strength as well. The video was from a hidden camera James had secretly installed in that room. It seemed he hadn't trusted his mother and sister. He showed it to me after we had decided on the dress yesterday, and I thought to reveal it at today's reception. I feared it might be deleted or edited to look fake, as the mother-in-law had mentioned. So I wanted to show it here where everyone could see. As expected, the individuals in question were denying it, but the video was unaltered. Something the police could confirm. Indeed, given that this was the wedding of a big company's president's son, there were off-duty police officers in attendance. And we managed to have an officer come to the venue. The sister-in-law seemed to be guilty of arson of her own property, which could lead to imprisonment from 6 months to 7 years. It's my house, I can do whatever I want with it. What's this about? I'm the victim here. She resisted vehemently, but it seems she didn't know that even if it's her property, arson is still a crime. Ultimately, it became clear she was just someone who, obsessed with money, lacked basic societal norms. And the mother-in-law spectacularly betrayed her daughter, claiming she acted alone. But the father-in-law did not entertain this and quickly disowned her. Right there in public, he announced a divorce. He had been fed up with their antics for a while, and this event was the last straw. convincing him she was beyond teaching proper values. Thus, due to this wedding, both the mother-in-law and sister-in-law were ousted from the family and became no longer related to me. Afterwards, as James began to be groomed as the next company president, I supported him while we built our form of happiness together. Despite my initial stereotype of a company president being arrogant, my father-in-law was not. He listened well to James and me and incorporated employee feedback to grow the company. I looked forward to working together moving forward. After the sister-in-law's imprisonment, those two, perhaps thinking to retaliate, began frequently uploading videos slandering me. That commoner has stayed in our house targeting our wealth. To everyone watching this video, don't be deceived. Help us return to that house quickly, were some of the baffling messages in their videos. However, because the live video broadcast during the ceremony showed them laughing at the bride, no one paid them any attention anymore. Their videos gained no traction, only accumulating dislikes. Yet they continued uploading videos, and with each upload, their clothes appeared cheaper, and their financial difficulties became increasingly evident. They might have hoped to earn from the videos, but eventually, even that ceased. How are the former sister-in-law and her mother, both with challenging personalities and now with a criminal record, managing to live well? The answer is unclear. But one can guess that their lives, far from being as comfortable as before. In contrast, James and I, despite being busy, are truly becoming a family. Today, looking at our wedding photos, we laugh together. I wouldn't change a thing about you. I will continue to live with James, committed to this in my wedding dress. I feel like my parents are watching over us from heaven with smiles.